allow me now to introduce our next speaker, who is Marie Langer, the CEO of the CEO of EOS, who will be talking about on the way to responsible manufacturing. I will stop sharing and I will let you take it away. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Let me just for 1 second see how I choose my presentation here. Sorry. Excuse me, can you help me for a second how I share this? I don't know why it doesn't work right now.
So actually for the sharing, you can either share your screen or document. Is it a presentation or?
Yes, it's a presentation actually, but if I click sharing, I cannot get to the point to really.
Give me a second.
Sorry.
Otherwise, as well, you can, Marie, you can send it to me and I can definitely share it for you if we cannot.
Okay, so maybe we do it like this. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
That was not intended.
Well, is it a conference if there isn't one or two little issues?
So I just sent you the presentation, and maybe before you have it and you can share it, I also will just start already. So I'm really, really excited to talk to all of you today, actually, about our way to responsible manufacturing. And the reason why this is also so important for me personally is because before actually considering to take over the CEO role at EOS as a shareholder and a family member, I think some of you at least know that my dad founded the company 30 years ago. I really thought a lot about how can I create impact in the world. And with impact, I'm not only talking about business impact, about great technology that we all can use to advance the way how we manufacture today, but also impact looking at ecological and social matters that we all face in our modern world. And so today I actually want to talk to you about what it means to be a truly purpose-driven business, or at least the trials we have here at EOS to advance to this way of dealing with a business. And so I will not talk to you today about like how do we make our customers successful, how do we all prioritize industrial grade better to grow the industry and to make profits. I really want to dedicate the next 20-25 minutes to the topic of our way to responsible manufacturing and what we believe is necessary to create a purpose-driven business step by step. So moving to the next slide, actually also let me share what was really important for me at the beginning. So starting my role 3 years ago, I actually decided that I want to put sustainability at the core of what we do. And there we kicked off actually an ideation process internally, where we then really worked with our community, with all our employees, on our future purpose. And what you can see here is actually our defined purpose we're using now, that is actually our North Star, to make sure that we also, in all strategic conversations, in all customer conversations, product roadmaps, are realizing this purpose going forward step by step. So purpose is to, so you can see it here, we exist to accelerate the world's transition to responsible manufacturing with industrial 3D printing. And with that, we actually make sure that we're not only looking at financial impact, but we're really looking also at the ecological and social benefits we need to create in this world, as I already said. So moving to the next slide, you see what we really actually mean with it and how we kind of clustered it. And that's a well-known way of classification. So, of course, we look at our people, the ethical behavior towards people in society. That, of course, is facing our community, but also our global community, like the world we live in. Then, of course, the planet. So, how can we make sure that we advance our technology and the products we have and the way we do business to really respect the natural limits of our planet? And then, of course, also looking at performance, making sure that, of course, we enable customer operations, customer production cases the best way possible in line with ecological and social impact, but also making sure that we use responsible business practices. And I will come to that later, what it means. So this is really this purpose, this topic of responsible manufacturing has a high relevance for our business. And it's not only that we see customers the more and more asking for it, of course, also great talents, people in the industry. We would love to work for us, work with us, with partners within EOS. To advance this matter, it's really important. And so it's not a nice to have anymore. And I think it's the responsibility of every company leader, of every shareholder to really create goals for their companies that are not only meeting financial targets. So it's about being truly purpose driven. And let me be very clear, it's not that we are at the stage where we achieved everything already. I would even say we are right at the beginning, or we started, of course, a few years ago already to kind of define and think about like what does it really mean and what is necessary. And I think now, bit by bit, some of the topics and some of the projects we managed to already roll out inside of EOS or together with partners. But there is plenty of things we still want to do and we still need to do to be a really purpose-driven leader in this space. So moving to the next slide, you see here the first big bullet, people. And I just want to now for the next 10-15 minutes just use some examples to explain to you what we did as concrete activities in our organization to advance these topics. So, of course, people is a very broad topic, and we know that the most important part is, of course, talking about all the employees, all the people working in the community, advancing our industry, and especially the topic of diversity has gotten increasingly more attention of EOS, because to be really honest, we didn't do that much in the past for it intentionally. It doesn't mean the company was against it, but it was not a big priority for EOS for very long. And the last years, we now really decided this needs to be a big priority, and I will share with you some activities we do there to advance in that space. And then, of course, also the topic of corporate responsibility is really important for us because we also believe that we have a social duty as a business to make sure that we do good for our community, for our world. Of course, in respecting the limits everyone has, but making sure we're not only taking, but we're also giving. So moving to the next slide, you can see here, and I talked about diversity. That's our company statement we actually came up with. And this was an activity of a very cross-functional, diverse group of people to really define what do we mean with diversity and, of course, equity and inclusion. This comes together. And as we want to break and extend the boundaries of how we manufacture today, we strongly believe that the same we also have to do in breaking boundaries for our people. So really making sure that we believe and create a work environment that is built on empathy, respect, and fairness. And I know this sounds very familiar because I think almost every company is claiming and defining these kind of values and wants to live it. And we learned that in the daily it's a daily business. It's not always easy to do so. And that's why and on the next slide, you see a small overview of it, defined some activities we want to do intentionally to really live this diversity company statement going forward better. So what we actually did first time this year in our performance management, we also included a diversity, equity, and inclusion goal for all teams for the entire company, so that everyone is really wrapping their head around what can I do to advance this topic. It can be small, it can be big, it doesn't matter, but it needs to contribute to where we want to go. Then we also made sure to set up a third-party whistle reporting platform, as we learned that sometimes it's really hard for people in the community to really speak up, as there's fear, as there, of course, is power dynamics, and we really want to make sure that we create a platform where these things can be popping up without risking anything. And then, of course, we also want to make sure to find better ways how to recruit actually diverse talent going forward, as we feel that we still have some classical approaches here, and we can try out way more things to really reach the people that we believe we want to reach, to really have a more diverse group of people working here together at every level of the company. And of course, there's also more things we do, but I just wanted to share a few things. So also on the next slide, you see a little bit, I also talked about corporate social responsibility, because that's also affecting the community, affecting the people. So here we also decided to focus a little bit our activities. Also my mom, like 20 years ago already, was feeling very strongly about this topic and doing a lot in that space. For now, we really wanted to make sure that we are really focused on this topic, concentrating on quality education, which is of course relevant for all women and men, and especially concentrating also, of course, on young kids that might not have the capabilities and the equal access to good education. And I'm feeling really strongly about this topic, as I also was working for one of these companies we're now supporting with money before I started at EOS. And I think some of you know it, because a lot of companies in the industry were participating there. It was not an EOS activity, it was a community activity, but it's something that I also felt very strongly about to kick off. Is really the 3D Printing Against Corona initiative, to make sure that we share knowledge and everything we have, if it's money or different other know-how, to make sure to help each other at the beginning of the pandemic that we were facing 2 years ago. So, and that was the people area. Now, in the next slide, you see an overview about what we do in the area of planet. And here we're talking about, like, of course, the ecological effects that we need to consider to stay within the natural limits and to really fight the climate crisis that we are all facing. And here we are kind of looking at two areas. The one area is, of course, more facing internally, so making sure we actually can do proper carbon accounting and controlling, so we really understand what are actually the emissions we contribute to and how can we reduce them. But first, of course, we need to start in understanding, like, what is the baseline we have and what is a benchmark we need to set for ourselves. And then, of course, on the external side, launching green products and services to also make sure that our customers can benefit the most in the best possible way. On the next slide, you can see here a little bit more in detail what we mean when we talk about carbon accounting and controlling, and how we actually how we create targets for EOS that we can then move towards to. So this year we started with baselining and making sure we understand what is our company carbon footprint, and to get to a accepted science-based target that then we work towards the next years to achieve it, to in the end, of course, reduce greenhouse gas emissions as much as possible. And this aspect is also for some of our management roles part of the long-term incentive. So we also made sure to not only put goals like what is the growth, what is the profitability I want to have, so top and bottom line in a company from a shareholder side, but all shareholders, my entire family and my dad was supporting that very strongly. Also made sure that we also integrate ecological impact in our long-term incentive, as this really matters. And the same accounts actually for all the diversity activities we have. So there we also have KPIs for our diversity ratio that we want to increase, which will also contribute to the long-term incentive of our management. So now the next slide, you see also the green products and services and how we cluster that. So I will show one example in a minute, but here just to stay a bit on the slide, we want to make sure that we don't do greenwashing, so that we really understand what are the products that we really can offer our customers, and how can we categorize them? So it can be climate neutral, it can be CO2 reduced. We also, and I will talk about it in a minute, try to sell services or offer services to our customers to better understand the topic of ecological impact. And we want to make sure, and for that we even build a small sustainability team in-house, which is working with all our product units together to really calculate the emissions going forward, to track, to report, to understand what kind of offsetting do we need to do, and to communicate around that, of course. And on the next slide, you can see that how we now talking about a more focused area of our products, EOS polymer materials and processes, as an example, how we started to look at that. So of course we defined like the three most important areas. So it's sourcing, its use, and its reuse. And with sourcing we mean the reduction of footprint in the powder production, and there it's really important, of course, to improve the production efficiency and to increase the production quality to lower scrap. Then in the area of use, the most important priority is to lower the refresh rate of our materials. And that's also a very big ask of all our customers, which is really understandable and has a high priority in-house to advance this going forward step by step. And there is a lot of innovation and activities going on right now to do so very short term. And then, of course, we have the whole topic of circularity, so reuse, so to close the material loop. And on the next slide, you see actually, and we also launched that on Formnext, our first carbon neutral polymer powder to bridge a bit the way to a fully zero AM production plant. And here this we developed together with our partner Akema, and we made even sure to have some solar panels on the house where this powder is produced, and to offset some of the emissions. And this is also verified from an external partner and externally audited, because this is really important for us, that we will not launch any product which has not external stamp, so to say. that this is really what we make it look like. So we really want to make sure to take that seriously. Okay, then on the next slide, you see the third area, and that's the area of performance. And first of all, of course, we look here at, okay, how can we make sure that we improve customer operations with our technology and the offerings and services that we have? Of course, also, how can we innovate around customer products to, to work at the core of the also ecological and social impacts we can have. And the third point, and I will end with that then, is also that we started to define a responsible manufacturing policy, because we believe that when we look at performance and making money as a company, we also need to define with whom do we want to make money, and how do we consider geopolitical effects also in that space. So moving to the next slide, you can see here one example for a customer product. It's with a partner of ours, company called Umavo, and they are working on custom-made 3D printing eyewear frames. And here we also made sure to have a life cycle analysis that is externally audited. And on the next slide, you can see that actually, when you look at the CO2 emissions, that the more you come from conventional eyewear, the more you go to customized and production and AM, we can really reduce CO2. So from 44 to 48% lower than conventional eyewear, depending on type of sale. So retail, online, or customers, you see on the right side the exact numbers. And this is actually a really, really great showcase where we can really prove that AM can have a bigger ecological impact in the manufacturing space if you do it right. And then also looking quickly at two other examples. So the next slide, you can see a dual function inductor. And here it's really just really important to say that what we achieve here is less power consumption. So it needs up to 60% less energy, which is great. This is made completely out of pure copper and was manufactured on one of our AMCM machines. And we also launched that just now at Formnext in November. And it also has a over 2 times higher productivity. So you can see that here, really looking at the core of customer products, we really can advance the field of manufacturing, looking at ecological impact. And then on the next slide, we also, and this is a little bit of an older example, but I wanted to share it anyhow, because the whole topic of distributed production, of course, stays hot and is really important. And together with Daimler Buses, we developed a digital spare parts warehouse for specific parts of buses. And this is, of course, again, always a great example for less warehousing, less transportation, and less overproduction. So really on the performance side, we always want to make sure to have a coherent story and to meet the business cases that our customers need. So on the next slide, you see also then what we do on the additive mind side, so our consultant group. And here, and I will not go through everything, but here we also made sure to create a carbon calculator. You can see that on the second part, the emissions calculation. So making really sure to be able to work with our customers to identify not only the application that makes sense with our technology, but also calculate the CO2 emissions and find the best way possible to build these parts together with our customers. And now, a very important topic on the next slide, and you see an example here. I talked about responsible manufacturing policy that we actually defined at the US. And the start of all of that was when Putin and Russia decided to invade into Ukraine territory. And there we actually had a very close look, what is the business we do with Russia, and decided very spontaneously, but with very firm backbone of the entire shareholders here of EOS, to step out of all the business we do with Russia, because we wanted to make sure that we're not contributing to any type of advancements in the area of military or defense. And with our technology, you can never be sure that the technology is not used in that space. And with that, we then actually there was also a community activity, and I think a lot of you know it, and also Women in 3D Printing members were participating greatly to the Together We Are Strong initiative to really make sure that we speak up as a community in the AM industry to really help to not strengthen Russia, but making sure from a geopolitical point of view we make the right choices. And we also now took that to the next level. We decided on a Know Your Customer initiative, where we look at every country that geopolitically could be a little bit questionable, to understand what is the business we do there, and do we want to really participate in it. And that actually leads me to the last slide. And here, that's something about that is driving me personally a lot. And that's to really make sure that when we're leading businesses, we're contributing to the impact of companies, we make sure that we use our voice to contribute to a social and ecological impact that our world needs. And also, I strongly believe that the time is over to not make a political statement anymore as a leader. I think in our modern world, with all the dynamics we see right now on this global scope, where also democratic beliefs are not actually taken seriously from anyone. You can see that in Iran, you can see that in different countries, but you also saw it in the US when the Capitol was stormed. And I think it's really important that we use our voice here, and that we make sure as a community to advance the whole industry to a really responsible manufacturing space. So with that, I want to end. I want to thank you. And if there are any questions, of course, please let me know. Thank you very much for sharing.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was a little...
Sorry you had to do both. I don't know what went wrong here, but...
It's fine. That's why we have plans in place. So we have about 1 minute left. So if you have any questions, please do just ask them in the Q&A section. That's to the right. We can try and get a couple in right now. Otherwise, well, thank you very much, Marie, for your presentation. It was very interesting, especially the idea of responsible manufacturing. I found particularly cool. Anyway,
and if there's not a question right now, and I think also you need to rush to the next topic, of course, so everyone can contact me at LinkedIn, of course. You also can see my email here. So if there's anything you want to comment on, or you have questions about, or you're interested in, please let me know, and enjoy the rest of this great now community event at TIPE 23. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being